Missy's new post-Young Sheldon fate proves that canceling the Big Bang Theory prequel was a mistake. When Young Sheldon first hit television screens in 2017, it was met with a curious mix of anticipation and skepticism. Could a prequel to the widely beloved and distinctly different The Big Bang Theory really work? But over its 7-season run, Young Sheldon proved itself as far more than a spin-off. It became a show of its own heart, tone, and legacy. Perhaps no character better symbolizes the show's evolution and its untimely demise than Missy Cooper, Sheldon's twin sister. Her post-Young Sheldon fate, recently teased and further explored in the upcoming Georgie and Mandy spin-off, only reinforces what fans feared when CBS pulled the plug. Canceling Young Sheldon was a mistake, and Missy's arc is the clearest proof. A character who outgrew her origins, Missy Cooper began her journey as comic relief. In The Big Bang Theory, her brief appearance was marked by quick wit and a striking contrast to her brother's social ineptitude. However, she was more of a curiosity than a character. Young Sheldon changed that dramatically. Through Reagan Reward's grounded, emotional, and often seen-stealing performance, Missy transformed into one of the most complex and emotionally resonant characters in the series. Unlike Sheldon, who had a predetermined future in theoretical physics and a deeply plotted life ahead of him, Missy was unpredictable, and that made her fascinating. She wasn't a genius, but she was sharp. She wasn't rebellious by trope, but emotionally reactive. As she struggled through puberty, family chaos, and her own quiet isolation, audiences began to see her not as a supporting role, but as a lead character in her own right. Missy's post-Young Sheldon fate, a heartbreaking reveal. In the final episodes of Young Sheldon, Missy's emotional arc came to a head following the tragic death of George Sr. Her grief was visceral and real, a sharp contrast to Sheldon's more intellectualized reaction. The finale hinted that Missy's future would be tumultuous, her relationship with her family strained, her place in the world uncertain. Now, with the Georgie and Mandy spin-off promising to continue the Cooper family legacy, Missy's new fate is finally coming into clearer view. According to recent teases from the show's creators, Missy will be a recurring presence in the new series, but not necessarily a happy one. Now a rebellious teen, she's grappling with the emotional fallout of a childhood shaped by neglect, grief, and being constantly compared to her genius brother. This is a young woman trying to find her identity in a family where she was often overlooked. While the new spin-off offers a welcome continuation of her story, it is a bittersweet development. The truth is, Young Sheldon should have been the show to explore this in greater depth, and its cancellation robbed audiences of one of the most promising character arcs in the entire Big Bang Theory universe. Missy represented the emotional core of Young Sheldon. For a show centered on a child prodigy, Young Sheldon was surprisingly successful at building its strongest emotional moments around the people around Sheldon. His mother Mary, his father George, his brother Georgie, all had rich, textured stories. But Missy's journey was arguably the most emotionally affecting. She was the one who saw things clearly, the one who recognized the dysfunction even when she couldn't name it. She was a child in pain, yet rarely given the language or the space to express it. And despite this, she was also often the source of humor and joy, balancing sarcasm with a raw, emotional honesty. Missy was never going to become a physicist or invent a theory of time travel. But she had something Sheldon didn't: emotional intelligence, empathy, and a kind of intuitive wisdom. She was the heart of the show, and it's telling that as fans say goodbye to Young Sheldon, they are more interested in Missy's future than Sheldon's already well-known trajectory. A missed opportunity to show the fallout of genius. One of Young Sheldon's quiet strengths was its examination of what it's like to grow up in the shadow of brilliance. Sheldon's genius was both a gift and a burden, not just for him, but for his entire family. Missy, more than anyone, bore the brunt of that reality. As Sheldon was given special treatment, tutors, scholarships, and emotional accommodations, Missy was left to navigate adolescence largely on her own. Her own struggles, whether academic, social, or personal, were often sidelined, and that neglect shaped her identity. The later seasons of Young Sheldon began to unpack this tension, but just as it was beginning to peak, the show ended. Imagine what season 8 or 9 could have explored: Missy's high school years, her first romantic heartbreaks, her growing resentment toward Sheldon, her quiet yearning for her father, her attempt to carve out a life not defined by comparison. The material was rich, and the writers were finally leaning into it. The audience was ready. CBS, it seems, was not. The Georgie and Mandy show can't carry it all. To be fair, CBS isn't completely abandoning the Cooper family. The Georgie and Mandy spin-off is poised to continue the Texas-set storyline, now focused on a young couple raising their daughter in the aftermath of George Sr.'s death. There's potential for warmth, humor, and a deeper exploration of intergenerational dynamics. Missy's inclusion in this new show is a relief, but it's also a clear sign of unfinished business. Her fate in this spin-off will likely be important, but it can't be central. She's not the lead, and her story will be one subplot among many. The raw, emotional exploration she deserves, the kind young Sheldon had just begun to deliver, won't get the same screen time. The new show may surprise us, and Missy might still thrive in it. But it's difficult not to see it as a consolation prize for a character who deserved her own spotlight. If young Sheldon had continued, Missy could have become the show's new emotional centerpiece, a unique, grounded counterbalance to Sheldon's intellectual journey. CBS misread the fans. Networks often talk about ratings and demographics when making cancellation decisions. And while young Sheldon was still drawing strong viewership, CBS likely saw its 7-season run as a natural endpoint, especially since Sheldon's college departure was fast approaching. But this logic misses a crucial point. Fans didn't stay with young Sheldon just for Sheldon. In fact, many stayed despite Sheldon. The Cooper family as a whole, especially Missy, became the emotional anchor that kept viewers invested. She grew up in front of our eyes, and her transformation from precocious child to emotionally complex teen was arguably the show's greatest success. Ending that story just as it was hitting its stride felt like a betrayal of everything the series had built. A future series centered on Missy? Here's the truth. Missy Cooper deserves her own show. Whether it's a future spin-off or a continuation within the Georgie and Mandy series, her journey is rich enough to stand on its own. The idea of following a teenage Missy through high school and early adulthood, a young woman shaped by grief, neglected by her family, underestimated by everyone, has enormous dramatic and comedic potential. Missy doesn't need to be a scientist or a savant to be worth watching. Her value lies in her perspective. She's the one who saw Sheldon clearly, who understood her parents' pain, who loved fiercely even when she wasn't loved back in the ways she needed. That's compelling television, and it's a shame CBS didn't see it. Final thoughts. Missy's post-young Sheldon fate, as teased in the Georgie and Mandy spin-off, is already generating buzz. But that buzz is tinged with a sense of loss. The end of young Sheldon came just as her story was becoming the one most worth telling.